guys, welcome to the channel and to the garage as always. I'm going on a mission with this bulkhead now. It's far from the worst I've ever seen, but it does need a few patches here and there, and the footwells are, well, that side's completely knackered. This side's got a lot of rust and a lot of pitting, so I'm going to replace it. And I'll try and document as much as I can, but it's awkward when you're welding and stuff like that. So, but I'm aiming more at this bit of, because it's going to be over a couple of videos, I think. This bit's more more aimed at novices to Land Rovers, people who's never done it before. Dismantling a bulkhead can be, in some ways, more daunting than taking out an engine or a gearbox or anything like that, because you've got a good mixture of everything. You've got mechanicals like your steering boxes and stuff like that, pedal boxes, but you've also got electrics, you've got hydraulics, clutch and brake cylinders, master cylinders, you've also got fabrication if it needs welding, welding work, and to a certain degree, depending on how bad it is, jigging work to make sure it stays the right shape. So yeah, it can be quite daunting, but my advice would be just take it one bite at a time. Label everything that you take off, so mainly wiring. Take as many photos as you possibly can of everything from different angles. Even take videos walking around explaining to yourself where each wire goes. If you know, this plug goes to there and it runs around here and it does this, that and the other, and it comes, and just so you've got references to go back to all the time. Also, don't throw anything away, even if it's rotten and totally knackered. Do not throw anything away until you've got your new parts, until it's restored, you've got your new parts, it's all built up and working. Because simple things like a brake servo or something like that, you order a brake servo, and 2 months later you come to fit it and you find out you've accidentally ordered the wrong one, you've ordered one for a Discovery or something like that. But you've got no reference to your old one because you've thrown it in the bin. So simple little tricks like that will help you, especially when it comes to rebuilding time. Also, the temptation is, with any sort of fabrication work, welding work, body work, chassis work, or anything like that, is to get the grinder straight out, start cutting bits out. But what I like to do is, in fact, I'll get you off the stand and I'll show you. Right, the first things I do is go around and I'll clean up as much as I can of the chassis. I haven't even got the grinder out yet. Taking off all this joint sealer that goes all the way around. It's been on there for 30, 40 years plus. You'll find it's quite brittle. Most of it just picks off, flakes off. So we'll get rid of all that and replace it. I've just got this bit to do now. And then I get the sander out. And I'll sand down the areas. I'll sand all around the areas that look like they need any sort of treatment, any sort of work. And I'll sand it all back to bare metal, so you can see where the good metal is and the bad metal is. Obviously, sometimes you can go around and it'll look like it's absolutely rotten. You get the sander on it and it comes back, all this looked totally rotten. Obviously there's a few holes there that need repairing, but all this looked totally rotten, like I was going to need to do a plate there, all around there. Get the sander out and there's just a few holes, and there's a few bits that way. So I will still have to cut that out and try and figure out how to drill a square hole. It'd probably be just drill a normal small hole and with a flat file it to shape. And then so simple bits like this, it can look more daunting before you clean it up. Once you've cleaned it up and you know exactly where the good metal is, you can get a better idea on how things are going to go. Right. The footwell on that side is toast. There's some repair work to do down on there. I still might just buy that panel. I don't know. I'll see once I've got the actual footwell out. I'll see how bad that is. It's all good up here, but there's some pitting down there, and obviously around there. The mounts at the bottom of the bulkhead, they're going to need either replacing or repairing. And there's just a few bits here and there. There's a couple of bits on the front of it as well. Now this footwell is actually solid. There's no holes in it, but it is very heavily corroded. It's very pitted, so rather than mess around, you can tidy it up, but it's going to be, the metal's going to be half the thickness of what it originally was. I dare say by the time you've tidied it up and got rid of the flaky stuff, you better put a screwdriver through it. So yeah, so all this panel will get replaced, both footwells, that panel on that side as well, a couple of small repairs, and yeah, to be honest, as far as series Land Rover bulkheads go, so I've got some heavy pitting there as well, it's actually a good one. Now if like I said, this is more of an introduction to what I'm going to be doing on this. I've got a bit of prep work to do. I've got to clean it all, like I said, sand all the rusty patches down back to good metal before I start cutting. But if you're in any doubt whatsoever whether you can do your bulkhead, I recommend you go and look at a channel. The channel's Look Creations, and the project's Clanger 109. It's a series 109 Land Rover, and the bulkhead, to be honest, it would have been a brave repair for me, and I've done quite a few of them. But the guy, by his own admittance, he couldn't weld, so he's learning how to weld, and he's basically building it from scratch. There's not much of the original bulkhead left. But it's very inspirational stuff to be able to see somebody learn on the job how they're doing it, and he's doing really well. Obviously he's got some experience, but he's had no experience with welding. So yeah, if you think you can't do your footwells, go and have a look at that, and you can do it. If he can, like I said, if he can go from welding, never welding before, to TIG welding that bulkhead together. That's something to admire, really. But yeah, that's Clanger 109. Look Creations. Matt, I'm pretty sure his name is. I'm no good with names. I barely remember my own. Yeah. What I'll do is I'll get this all these rotten bits cleaned up with a sander. I'll come back and I'll let you know where we're going from there. Right, as you can see there, the sanders took it back to just about clean metal all round. All this looked rusty before, so you know what I mean, it's really quite deceiving. So all I've got on this side here, I've got a bit of rust. I'll clean that up with the wire wheel on a drill. A light wire wheel, not a really aggressive one. So I've got this patch here to do. So I'll now I know where the good metal is. I can cut it back to where it needs to go, straighten out what needs straightening, and see what it's like behind there. Right, now you're confident you've got your bit fit to size and the area is completely clean and prepped as much as you possibly can. Make sure you get your new piece. Just I made a template out of cardboard. Make sure you deburr all the edges and clean any crap off you can. Make sure it sits as flush as you can get it. You might need a few, even a small piece like this, you might need a few magnets just to get it lined up. Also, always do a little test on a piece with your welder. Make sure that let's try it that way around like that. Make sure your welder's set up correctly. What you might find. Oh, there goes my grinder. Is you might need to just manoeuvre it about a little bit with the screwdriver. Right, let's give it a go. Just lift that up a little bit there. And all you want is little tacks. Couple of little tacks just hold it in place. Now the trick to this is getting as much heat in as you can to, I'll take the mask off, you might be able to hear me. You need to get as much heat in as you can to weld it, but whilst trying to keep it cool at the same time. So I've got an airline, just cool it down as I go round. Obviously make sure that your airline isn't going to blow crap onto it. If you haven't got an airline handy, you can just use a wet rag, but you have to keep drying it in between. You put the rag on, cool it down and dry it. It takes a lot longer. But right, this is going to take a good 10 minutes or so to get around this, so I'll come back when it's done. Right, that's just about repaired now. There are a couple of little dimples in there, a couple of grinding marks. I took it down as low as I could get with the grinder, and then went at it with the sander for that last few fractions of a millimetre, because it's less aggressive. You can be a bit more accurate with it. You can go round all these little pin pricks and just spot weld them in, or I mean that'd take probably 1/4 of a millimetre of filler just to smooth that out, because I had to hammer it down and it was a little bit out of shape anyway. So like literally I'll fill that, and by the time I've sanded the filler back, 99% of the filler will be taken back off again. and it's literally just that little area there. If it was, like I said, if I hadn't have had to hammer it down, and if it wasn't a little bit out of shape, it's a little bit dinted there. There's a bit of a dint there as well. If it weren't for them, then I'd go through the trouble of welding all these little pin pricks to do it, and then grinding it and smoothing it and keep doing it until they've all gone. But yeah, it's there's a few dints, so it's going to want the very fine. I mean, you can't even barely see the dints. I can feel them. I know they're there, so it'll do my head in. And I'm not going to risk going through all the trouble of restoring this whole bulkhead and think, oh yeah, you can't see them dints and all that lot. I'll leave them. Final paint goes on and they show up like a sore thumb. They literally stick out like a sore thumb. So yeah, I'll do that before. I'll even be able to retain these original spot welds. So yeah, that's as done as that's going to get for now. So what I'll do with that, I'm not going to fill it yet. I'll wait till I've got a few bits to do. I'll get a tin of paint. You don't have to just go straight over it with primer, because it's going to be taken back for the filler. I'll give it a quick coat of whatever leftover spray cans I've got laying around, because the paint will be coming back off anyway. It's just to protect it, just for now, just to give it a bit of a coat of something. Just while I wait, get the other side done. Yeah, as always, thanks for watching. If you want to see more, like, subscribe, press the notification bell, and I'll put more up. Like I said, I've got the footwells to do, other bits, so I'll do some videos on them and general prep work on it. This will be one of the first things that gets painted, because my plan is to basically complete the bulkhead, get that test fitted. It'll be on and off the chassis a couple of times, test fitting when I get the footwells welded in. Yeah, get that done, get that painted, get that fitted, and then everything that gets bolted to the bulkhead can then be restored and or replaced depending on what it needs. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can't do without the bulkhead in place. So it's an integral. Well, obviously it's an integral bit of the bulkhead, but it is one of the first things you want to get done. Right. Yep. See you soon, guys.